welcome back to Waiting in Laodicea. Today's subject is pacifism. As a Christian, are you supposed to be a pacifist? Well, I'm going to play two different verses for you. Please read along with them. The two verses are, wrong side. Matthew chapter 22, verses 50 through 54, and Luke chapter 22. Are they both? Check those numbers, please. Did I just mess up?
Luke 22.
And Matthew 22?
Yeah.
Wow, what do you know? So, 22nd chapter of both books. The first in Matthew is 50 through 54. And
Luke 22 verse 35 to 36. Reading from the New King James Version. And he said to them, When I sent you without money bag, knapsack, and sandals, did you lack anything? So they said, Nothing. Then he said to them, But now, he who has a money bag, let him take it, and likewise a knapsack, and he who has no sword, let him sell his garment and buy one. Matthew 26 verses 50 to 54. Reading from the New King James Version. But Jesus said to him, Friend, why have you come? Then they came and laid hands on Jesus and took him. And suddenly, one of those who were with Jesus stretched out his hand and drew his sword, struck the servant of the high priest, and cut off his ear. But Jesus said to him, Put your sword in its place, for all who take the sword will perish by the sword. Or do you think that I cannot now pray to my Father, and he will provide me with more than 12 legions of angels? How then could the scriptures be fulfilled, that it must happen thus?
okay, now, on the surface, these two verses almost seem to be conflicting with each other, but they're not. You see that in Matthew, we are told that he who lives by the sword dies by the sword. But yet, in Luke, Christ tells his people, take your money and go buy a sword. Because there are things that are going to come that you're going to need one for. Okay, so what do we need a sword for? Well, obviously, self-defense. Now, does this mean Christians can or cannot, should or should not be pacifists? A pacifist is somebody who doesn't believe in defending, using violence for any reason. And this does not seem to go along with what we're being told in Luke, because apparently there are times that we should use them. Now, the history of the church is not going to help you in solving this question. The early Christian churches would not go to war. They would not fight for their country. We have letters from different prelates and ministers telling the government, no, we'll pray for you, we'll do non-combatant situations. But bottom line, Christians don't go to war. And that, if you think about it, that kind of fits in some degree. What we really need to be looking at is why there was a war. Why did these countries want to go fight? And the answer, when it comes to Rome, Rome fought to conquer. And as such, a Christian should not be supporting the idea of conquering another nation. A Christian should only be using violence for self-defense. But modern day view tends to be it's okay for Christians. Matter of fact, many Christians serve in the military. I personally did. Now, I will tell you, this was before I actually thought about it. And I served in the U.S. military. And nope, never went to war. My father, on the other hand, was sent to Vietnam. Today, it's hard to find a person in the military who has not been sent off to fight a battle. They all have do rotations or have done rotations in the Middle East, where we are constantly engaging in conflict. So what is the answer to be? Is this correct? Should Christians be going out and fighting other people? Well, there's two answers to this, and they both are interrelated. We know that the early Christians said no. But they were also talking about wars of conquest. Now, the U.S. doesn't so much do wars of conquest, but then we don't do wars of self. I mean, we do weird reasons to go to war. And, I mean, this whole preemptive first strike concept is a little out there for me personally. But how do you determine if it's right or wrong? Well, when it comes to defending yourself, self-defense is always right. You always have the right to defend yourself. And for those that are around you, if you see somebody hurting somebody you love, you have a right to defend them. And that is something that Christ in the Bible in no way says not to do. This is the reason why Christ told them to get a sword. It was to defend themselves. Now, there's part of your way of answering it. What would Jesus do? Would Jesus sit back and allow people to be brutalized? No. Would Jesus do something, say something, try to stop this? Yes, he would. So therefore, self-defense is fine. But what about that war, going to war in the service of your country? I'll be honest. I think it would depend on what the purpose of the war was. If the purpose of the war was to conquer another country, I don't see Jesus signing up and enlisting. If somebody's coming in to attack our country, yes, I can see Jesus signing up to enlist. If he just didn't send the angels to stop him. The point is, there is no blanket answer. We're not pacifists refusing to use violence ever. Although there are those that do believe that. And that comes up with the way to solve this question. Like many things, the answer comes down to you. What do you feel is right? Do you think it's okay to serve your country in the military, knowing that most likely is not going to be a defensive battle? You are not going to be defending the United States. You're going to be out there punishing or attacking others. If you feel this is correct, then it's fine. As I said, I was in the military. My brother was in the military. My kids, several of them would love to be in the military. The point is, just enlisting doesn't make you evil. Now, do I want my kids in the military now? No. Why? Because we're getting too close to the end of times. I don't want my children to be part of Satan's infantry. And I know that is where things are heading. But then I also have problems with my son who wants to be a police officer. Because too often our police do not do serve and protect. What's the line from the Transformers?
Punish and enslave.
Yeah, they tend to punish and enslave. Follow the laws, that's all there is to it. And it's a tough situation. Are you prepared to use violence for others? When do you use violence? These are things that I think each Christian needs to pray and come up with an answer for themselves. And no, I don't think anyone else can make that choice for you. You have to make that choice. You have to decide what is right or wrong for you. Yeah, this is a gray area. As I mentioned in one of my previous episodes, sometimes the answer is, I don't know. You have to go through, pray, research, reading the Bible, what it has to say, and come up with an answer. I do know the idea of being a mercenary running around chopping people's heads off, probably not going to go along, probably isn't going to meet the smell test on that one, because that's living by the sword. But all the Bible says on living by the sword is that you may die by the sword. Doesn't mean you're going to hell. Doesn't mean you're doing an act of sin. So it's something you're going to have to pray about. There is no easy answers in life. Christ gives us a way to make the choices and make our answers and come up with answers. And that is read and pray and listen to the Spirit. And the Spirit will guide you. I mean, I know it's kind of a cliche, but what would Jesus do? I mean, I can't really see Private Jesus walking off to invade somebody else's country when they've done nothing to you. I don't see Christ supporting conquest. Not anymore. Can I see Christ doing so at the end of times? Well, he's going to make it worse than unnecessary. War is mankind's most destructive talent. We're good at it. The earth has only had something like 22 years of peace. That's not pretty good when you think about it. In all of recorded history, only 22 years was there peace on this planet. All the rest of the time, somebody was fighting somebody else. So, we are a very warlike creature, a very violent creature. In the United States, we see crimes happen regularly. And no, we don't have the monopoly on it, because we just, every country has a crime rate. Everywhere you look, somebody is getting hurt by somebody else. What are you going to do in that circumstance? Well, that's something you need to pray about and think about. You think about it, you pray about it, and you let God dictate what you should do. Bottom line, what would Jesus do, and what is Jesus telling you to do? So, I hope this episode is giving you something to think about. I know that you may be given a choice someday. And when that choice comes, I hope you make the right choice. Remember, though, there's a big difference between volunteering to go to war and being drafted. A person who's forced to fight, different subject. Now, granted, you can try to claim conscientious objector. Sorry about that, folks. Bottom line, you need to make your choices. Figure out what you're going to do. And just trust in the Lord. This has been Waiting in Laodicea. I'm A.T. Martinez, and I hope you've enjoyed today's message. If you did, or even if it was just something that just made you think a little bit.